Good morning, Belfast Boxing and Blues. Your one stop shop for all things boxing, all things Belfast, and all things blues. Uh, yes, we're here to talk about Rinty Monaghan, the singing Irishman. What a guy! What a guy! Um, yeah, I've been watching the usual boxing content that sort of comes our way. Who have we had now? Bit of Pro Box TV last night. I had to tune back in. I sort of went off it, seeing the same stuff, the same ideas, again and again. I'd lost faith a little bit in the panel, but luckily Teddy Atlas come in and showed these young slackers what it was they needed to do, and you know what? You had to give Algieri, you had to give Chris Algieri some credit too, because I think a lot of the times, the thing is, on that show, you've got Paulie Malignaggi, right, and Teddy Atlas, who both kind of do the same thing in a way. Obviously, they're different, right? But Teddy Atlas for years has been the guy that loses his nut when he gets really passionate. He loses it and he starts fucking going, it's not right, it's not right. It's like, yes, Teddy, fucking chill out there, man. We're with you on all counts, but just chill out. And Paulie's the same though. Paulie's also the guy that when he's talking, and I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something. This has been going on for years. This is a disgrace. I don't like it. So it's like, okay, well, who's gonna be the guy that does that? Oh, we both do it. Can we work around each other here? Hopefully. Um, so that's why it was good to see Algieri make an appearance, and like, I've seen clips of Algieri, right? I've seen a clip where he was on holiday once. It might have been Pro Box TV, but he was in Hawaii or something. And he come on the screen with this big fat stogie hanging out of his mouth and like a fucking Panama shirt, a Miami Vice style look. And he was sucking on this cigar. The guy was asking him questions, and Chris was, he was really on top of his game there. So we know that Chris Algieri is capable of doing that, but he Chris Algieri, you gotta credit him because he was happy to play foil to these other two maniacs. He was happy to sit back and go, and set this thing up right. Well, you've got to credit Algieri. And, who can forget, I think it's, I'm not sure what the guy's name is it Jerry or something like that? Not sure if that's Jerry with a J or a G. It's the States, it could be J. Like Tom and Jerry, but the presenter, who's great actually, I like him a lot as well. You know what too, it's like, sometimes you look at these presenters and you think, oh, this is just some guy, But no, he has a he boxed and stuff, and obviously must have had a number of amateur fights and stuff like that. Well, he's a good laugh too, And again, similar to Algieri, when Atlas and Malignaggi, the both of them are starting to lose their minds. It's like Algieri and your man Jerry sort of looking at each other going, sort this out here, rein them two fuckers back in, before somebody gets hurt, right? We're gonna settle this here. So, I mean, it was good to see. It was good to see, and I haven't got to see any Timothy Bradley. Like I'll have to get tuned back into him. I do like Bradley as well. Good personality, good knowledge, not afraid to commit to his ideas. That's what I like about Bradley. he might turn out to be wrong. He might well. He's sort of like the American Johnny Nelson in a way. He sometimes you come out with a daft idea, but he will back it to the hilt. He will fucking back himself all the way, and everybody else is going, Tim, you can't be serious. You can't be serious. This is surely this is unrealistic. I mean, the record shows, and Tim's like, believe me, like I'm in the fucking Hall of Fame, not you, Polly. Believe me, this is what's gonna happen. So like I say, a bit of interplay with those guys. It's always good to see the Yanks doing a bit, you know. Obviously over here we're a bit more professional, a bit more polished. It's always good to see the Yanks doing a little bit. And so like I say, that was good to see. Rinty Monaghan. Oh, I've watched another bit. I've watched a bit of Simon Jordan as well. It was him. The other guy's name. What's the guy's name? His main dude. To me, it's always like it's sort of like a wee playground gang, isn't it? It's Simon Jordan. God love him. He's like the bully, you know. He's smart, and he's sharp. He's not gonna let you off the hook too easy, you know. And then you have I can't give his name. It's gonna come to me. And he's sort of like the muscle, you know. Simon Jordan is very tactical in who he surrounds himself with. You know, he's got the muscle guy and the muscle the way he comes, and it's sort of, I wouldn't say polar opposites, but like I say, they have two different little things to play off. And then they have another guy who's more in the mold of your Simon Jordan, you know, quite say, you know, overly intellectual, because that might sort of cast him in the wrong light. He's like I don't know. I suppose he's more the everyman, you know. But it's interesting to see he's not afraid to fight his corner either. So those three were giving it loads back and forth and getting into it, and it's good to see this stuff. And like I say, over here we're just a bit more professional and, you know, a bit more conscientious in the way we go about things, which is probably why, you know, per capita, Great Britain and Ireland has had more success overall than the United States has done historically or ever will. Yeah. So I want to talk about Rinty Monaghan, whose name I had heard bandied about for quite a while. Rinty Monaghan haven't been, you know, sort of like a great fighter, apparently a world flyweight champion, as I had alluded to previously. This he was fighting in an era pre WBA, yeah, pre the rest of them. The WBA was the first one, wasn't it? So that come along in '62 or something like that. I think was it Gilberto Ramirez? No, that's a super middleweight fighter, isn't it? It was Gilberto somebody, right? Basically the Mauricio Sulaiman of this division, right? And I think what had happened, you know, this NBA thing had come in, and then eventually it turned into the WBA, which must have been the first belt. And I imagine the WBC would have been the next one, and that, you could be undisputed world champion in that era through the NWA title, which I think was more recognised, and then sort of like an extra kind of bit of backing which you could get from the Nevada State Athletic Commission or whatever other guys they were under at that time. So that was all good. There was some, you know, coherence, and there was some, you know, there was stuff going on between those guys that they managed to get things done. So that was alright. And so this Rinty, he was known as the Singing Irishman, okay? I think he began boxing in his mid-teens. I believe he was born in Corporation Street, Belfast, which I'm not sure, I think it might be bang in the city centre. But in those days, Belfast was the docks, wasn't it? And it was the shipbuilding and all of that stuff. It's really a bygone era. We're more or less talking about the Victorian times here. You know, I think it was maybe 1914. I think he was born in. So it would have been like 1930 or 1929, going into 1930. But by the time he was, uh, had started his pro career after coming through the schoolboy system or whatever it was then, you know. And so Rinty showed a lot of promise early on. I think he didn't get to the stage where he was fighting for that world title until quite a bit of the way through. I believe he did a bit of service in the war, which would have been the Second World War. He went away and done some stuff. And having been known as a guy that could sing a bit, right, obviously when I first read this, I thought, oh, you know, Tyson Fury style, he would come out at the end and go through about three different keys, singing the one song, you know. No, you want to hear the man sing, like, you want to. This guy is fucking, obviously, like, I sing, that's kind of what I do, and I like to think I'm okay at it, but this guy's actually very, 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 he's like a Bing Crosby type thing, and he's on the level of a Bing Crosby, you know, except he's a fucking boxer. It's quite mad. You know, there's like an operatic element. There's the lilting Irish element, and it's nearly like Tony Bennett or somebody like that. You know that fine old singing you used to get before auto tune and all that. This guy was doing like, oh, throwing all these wee fucking lilts and twists and stuff. It's like, what are you doing on the boxing ring, mate? the fucking band's over there waiting on you, get. Yeah. So he ended up going over to do a bit of stuff through Europe. Then he went off and did a tour, right? And these are the sorts of guys he was playing with. George Formby, right? When I'm playing a Windows, little ukulele banjo guy. If you actually listen to George Formby is an amazing artist too. And what we're really talking about here is jazz guys. These guys are playing jazz, you know, and it's pre-bebop, really, you know. And plus to this side of the water, it's more that older style of jazz, which is no less valid or no less beautiful to hear than bebop. But that's kind of where he was operating. So it was Vera Lynn, she was there too. Never actually heard her sing, but Pink Floyd have a Vera Lynn song, so it's all good, isn't it? And Gracie Fields, another name that rings a bell. So these guys must have been, you know, the guys of their days, you know. And fucking Rinty Monaghan was fit to stand in there with him when he wasn't getting the head beat off him in the squared circle. So what a guy. And Formby then. Formby was not boxing. I believe he done some wartime stuff as well, you know. Obviously, you know, boxers were brought in quite a bit, you know, Joe Lewis's and stuff like this. And they would entertain the troops, they would put on exhibitions. Sugar Ray Robinson, I believe, might have done some of that stuff as well. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure he did. And then Muhammad Ali, it was a different thing. I don't think Muhammad Ali would have been afraid of going over to some cushy post, you know, and telling a few jokes and reading a few poems and stuff like that. In fact, he still did that, but he obviously had his convictions and the things that he stood by at that time, where he put his name on. I'm not behind the war effort, I'm behind this other thing, you know, the black consciousness movement and stuff. And that was the thing of their time, wasn't it, with the with all of that stuff that was going on there in America at that time. You know, we won't get too deep into it, obviously, but there's been segregation and stuff, because, you know, I'm trying to get liberal rights, the civil rights movement, yeah. So all of the black entertainers and people of, you know, prominence got involved in that, because it was real stuff. It was real stuff, you know. It not so much, not to denigrate at all the issues of today, where it's gender politics and stuff, which some of it is has a big impact on people's lives. There's no doubt in that. A few of us older ones are a little bit worried, is this more of a fashion thing for some people, you know, as it become a trend. I don't think you really in the days of the civil rights you could really say that because it was having a very visceral impact on um, the African American population in America, whose rights were, you know, they were second class, third class citizens, you know, um, and even the likes of somebody like Frank Sinatra being a jazz guy, you know, a pop singer, but jazz was the music of that day, and he was, you know, him being top dog like Frank Sinatra, you know, he was one of the guys to step forward and say, hey, wait, well, these guys are my pals, so we're all good here, okay, you know. Anyway, slightly off the thing, but anyway, I think it was a bit later in his career that Rinty first got the title. Now the guy fought maybe 68 times I think in his career. He had 9 losses and an incredible 9 draws. I'm not sure how the draws were scored so frequently then. Uh, it is what it is there really, and I watched footage of a couple of his fights, and it was great stuff to see. Now these flyweights were built; they were chiseled. These guys, you know, I think it was a Scottish guy. Patterson was one of his main rivals, a very good fighter as well, and it was interesting to watch the fighting style. It was nearly like watching what was the Rocky Graciano fight or something? Was it the Paul Newman? It's like, you know, the hands are down here and it's over right there and stuff like this. It was really good to see. Well, you could tell that it was somewhat different, and it's interesting even to go back and look at that footage. There is a history, more sort of specifically around it being a lot of the fights were in Belfast at the King's Hall, which is like a historic venue, isn't it? Um, yeah, it's cool stuff. You can see all of the old style dudes and stuff. It's not really, you know, the likes of the old, you know, like if you're watching some of the old heavyweight fights, where it's just like hundreds of thousands of people. The footage, the quality of the footage is actually really good, and you can see these guys with their top hats, the cigars. You can see press guys that are on these phones at ringside as they're trying to get their work done. It's quite interesting to look at. And Rinty Monaghan, his thing was he would always get up and sing this song at the end of their fight. So that stuff's worth checking out. Well, there's no real call to go into his whole record and stuff like that. Like I say, it gets a bit uneven at time, and it's hard to know. He seemed to retain a title, even though there have been a few losses and maybe some fights. This isn't a title fight. It's not exactly an exhibition. We're going to pay you for it, but you know, whatever way it was back then. Obviously, it's a long time ago as well. So maybe for the likes of Box Rec and stuff like that, whatever information they could be relying upon mightn't, it's it's not like it happened yesterday, put it that way. So Rinty had his trademark song at the end of every fight. He would get up and sing this, and I'm going to attempt to sing it, and this might indeed be a disaster. But before I make my attempt, I'm going to talk a little bit more because I want to finish my cigarette. And you might question why a budding boxer like myself, who's never set foot in the gym in his life but plans to very soon. I found a nice wee gym. A guy that I know is friendly with a fella who runs a place, Pro Kick or something I think you call it. It's over Collinswater, and apparently I've looked at some of the videos and stuff. The facilities look to be really good. I think it's primarily a kickboxing gym. But obviously, I'll be able to go in and hit the bags and stuff, and learn a few kicks and stuff too. Why not? Pick up some basic sort of foundational stuff. Like I mentioned before, you know, I'm a wee bit older, you know, so I have a few issues. A little bit of a dodgy knee, the hip, the ankle can get bad. For me, it's I can still do things. I can go in and do an hour session, no problem. You know, I cycle. Um, I'm always on my toes anyway. You know, I do a bit of shadow boxing, so you got to dance around. I'm quite active, but I listen to my body and I have to take that time to recover. I can feel a little twinge here, a twinge there. I go, okay, I'm just going to go easy this next few days. I'm not going to be stomping around East Belfast in my DM boots, which isn't bad exercise actually. Um, and when you're in the city too, you know, you sort of have to stop in your DM boots. You can't be pouncing around. You know what I mean? And a wee pair of slippers. You need the DM boots on you, the weight of them, and them tight with the thick socks and your yeah. Your shoulders are turning. Oh, you've got the arms going and the hands for momentum and balance. Yeah. The headphones are on. You're hearing the good tunes. Rising up back on the street. Then my time took my chances. Hit the piazza, up with the do. You must fight just to keep them alive. Great song itself. So, look, do you know what we're going to do? I'm going to take this little suite, which is the throat suite. This is the one that the pros use, the pro singers, which is a vocal zone. They just open you up real well. My sort of mentor when I was younger, Rob McCullough, great blues guitar player, band leader, singer, and just all around great guy as far as community and stuff went for the musicians up here. He would have used these. He would be throwing me little nuggets of wisdom and information all the time. I was going to myself, yeah. I know better than you, old man. And like I say, it's much later when you're a kid. You think you know everything, don't you? Like, and then a little bit later you go, oh, he was right. He was right, and I was wrong. I can't believe I was wrong. Rising up back on the street. In my time, took my chances. Went the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man to survive. It did many times, happens too fast. Passion for glory. It's the eye of a tiger, it's the fire rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the life not survivor of this brain and he's eye of a tiger. Yeah, I'm gonna learn that properly, you know. And when it's not fucking 9:30 in the morning, I will sing it really high. Back on the street. have all the right chords and everything, it'll be fucking brilliant. It'll be great. That would be quite. Imagine that come on, like a live band playing that, here out having a few drinks and all. Every man would be on the floor, wouldn't they? Like everybody. Be him a rocker, be him a fucking fitness freak. No matter who you were, you would be on the floor. Everybody knows it, like everybody loves that tune, like. So yes, I'm gonna learn it. I've got a few wee tunes cooking at the minute, but you know when you're putting up about $75 in videos every fucking hour, then you have to you have to spend your time quite wisely. So we'll try and do this Rinty Monaghan one. This was the one that he would have come out and sang. This was how he fucking, you know, topped off the night. Right, Tyson Fury, full credit to him. I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to, you know, great guy. But Van Morrison, not Van Morrison, man. Tyson Fury, what a personality, what a guy. We love him. But Rinty Monaghan, let's just credit the original guy here. So we'll try and do this one. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure 'tis like a morning spring. In the world of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. And when Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure they steal your heart. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And sure when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll steal your wee heart. Rinty Monaghan, Belfast Police and Boxing, your one-stop shop for all things blues, music, history, information, community. Rocky Balboa, Sliced Alone, Eye of the Tiger, Reality, Dreams, Everlasting Nutrition, and the World of Breeds. Guys, have a good time. Shout out G-Man Boxing, shout out Joe Stunner Boxing, shout out all the good guys out there doing the good stuff. We're going to do a little bit about Patrick McCrory and Edgar Berlanga. That's coming up next stage.